All right, Stephen A. So here's the facts. The Cowboys get blown out on Thanksgiving Day, 41-16, by Washington, of all teams. They now fall to 3-8. What is Jerry Jones to do about Mike McCarthy and his coaching?
Well, Jerry Jones needs to replace him. It doesn't have to be this second, even though that wouldn't bother me either. It's hard for me to say this because I take no enjoyment out of it, and I think that Mike McCarthy is a guy that's qualified more so than a lot of coaches in the NFL to be a head coach, just not of this particular football team. When you have a situation where Jerry Jones is encouraging you to keep the offensive coordinator, who hasn't been bad, but some of the decisions have been questionable. Even last year when Ezekiel Elliott wasn't getting the ball and Amari Cooper was taking out of key plays in the game and he's on the sideline, et cetera, that's problematic. But I recall yesterday, Ezekiel Elliott asked out of a play. It was like third or fourth and inches, and he asked out of a play. There was another sequence where they had a fourth down scenario, and Mike McCarthy calls a pass play instead of a running play. I thought Tony Pollard could run the football, utilize him. That didn't happen. We see Gallup and Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb dropping the pass, that's not the coaching. That's on CeeDee Lamb. We get all of that. But that fake punt is on the coaches. The fourth and inches call when you elect to pass instead of run is on the coaches. When you look at stuff like that that's transpiring and you combine that with guys calling out the coaches earlier on in the season, him clearly not ingratiating himself. And listen, I'm not going to even go here because I'm going to be nice about it. But as a black dude, with you reportedly bringing in watermelons to crush them just a week ago to give an indication of how a defense should play, and that's your methodology in order to encourage brothers to show up and play with a bit more fervor and energy for you, that's a huge question mark. But I won't go there today. I'm going to be nice. In the end, what it comes down to is that you look at Mike McCarthy, and what we keep ignoring is that the NFL is not just about X's and O's, because the coaches are bright enough to know what the others are doing. It's about galvanizing the troops and making sure that they exhaust every means and measure to maximize whatever potential they have. It's called being a leader of men. And I don't see that from Mike McCarthy. And that, to me, is what the Dallas Cowboys are in desperate need of. And to act like everything falls apart because from a leadership perspective, Max, just because Dak Prescott isn't there is a bit bothersome to me. I don't buy that. I think some of that onus should be on the coach. And if this man is not the right guy for the job, move on.
They were 8-8 with Dak Prescott last year and more of their offense. They were 8-8 with Dak Prescott last year and more of their offensive line, and they were losing with Dak Prescott early in the season, right? I mean, I'll say this. I wouldn't have hired Mike McCarthy. I thought it was a bad hire. But just like I said when it came to benching Carson Wentz, they needed to do it 3 weeks ago, hold him accountable. At this point, what difference does it make? I think it's already a lost cause. The more I think about it, so what? Let's say he lets Mike McCarthy go. You think Jerry Jones is going to hire the right coach this time? Or is he going to hire someone else who, once again, won't take headlines away from Jerry Jones, attention away from Jerry Jones in the event that they do win? Meaning he will limit the pool of coaches he will choose from. And he will probably limit it to the less effective coaches, not to the young, charismatic coaches who might get, or even the more established coaches who might get credit for winning. So what difference does it really make? And let me say something else. Yesterday, he made a lot of questionable, he had showed poor judgment, obviously. From your own 24 on fourth down, like, what are you doing? It's a trick play. Okay, fine. You have your $90 million running back. You're on 4th and 1. You give him the ball, maybe. Try a quarterback sneak at times instead of a passing play. With CeeDee Lamb. Didn't make any sense, right? Like a bunch of things didn't make sense. However, that's bad judgment. It's a bad day. It's a short week. It's Thanksgiving. All coaches tried trick plays yesterday. Some of them worked. Some of them didn't. He showed the worst judgment. Stephen A., I think there's something more important, though, and this is the reason I won't say let him go right now. I agreed with you about a month ago, but then I saw something happen. They came ready to play against the Eagles. They scored on the first possession. They lost the game because they weren't really good yet, and they're still not that good. They gave the Steelers a very tough game. I thought, that team is starting to look like a well-coached team to me, right? And then they beat the Vikings. The Vikings were on a streak. Like, the Vikings had just cleaned out the NFC North. They beat every team in the NFC North in consecutive games. That includes the Packers and that Bears defense, right? That's That's the team the Cowboys beat. So the fact that he shows poor judgment when he's kind of desperate, don't forget, both tackles went out early. And Zach Martin shouldn't even be a tackle. He's a tackle because Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins are both lost for the season. And then you lose what's his name, Cameron Irving, and who was, from that high draft pick from the Browns from like 5 years ago, right? And Zach Martin, who's actually very good, but playing out of position. They have no offensive line. So on a day where a lot of guys try trick plays because it's a short week, it's Thanksgiving, when he knows he's outgunned, he understands all that, and he knows now I don't even have my backup offensive line. It's bad judgment. But I've seen more important things than bad judgment in terms of play calling. I saw a coach who started to get his team motivated to play. So I'm willing to look a little more this season to see what happens before I say get rid of the guy.
That's fine. That's fair, Max Kellerman, and I can't knock you for that. What I would say in response to that is then we don't really need to rave that much about Mike Tomlin, do we? Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season. Mike Tomlin went 8-8 with a third-string quarterback, and we raved about that. Now, obviously, we know how excellent he is, how exceptional he is, and we know it was absolutely ludicrous for people alluding to him being on a hot seat a couple of years ago. But last year, he played with third and fourth-string quarterbacks. What you're telling me about Mike McCarthy is that things have to be ideal, and what I'm saying to you is that we've seen guys be given chances and have performed their duties with less than ideal circumstances. So if I was seeing that from Mike McCarthy, I would feel different too. That's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a guy that's dependent on things being ideal in order for him to shine, and that should not be the requirement in order to be a head coach in the National Football League.
Real quick, you don't have to be Mike Tomlin to be a good coach. Right, or to have a job as a coach. Mike Tomlin is a future Hall of Fame coach. Mike Tomlin is an all-time great coach. So, I praised Ron Rivera. He ain't Mike Tomlin, but he's a good coach, right? And Mike McCarthy at this moment ain't Ron Rivera either. But maybe he's good enough to coach the Cowboys. I want to see the rest of this year.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do, especially with Dak Prescott getting injured. But we shall